You're listening to the Healthy in Real Life podcast, episode number 188. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is Gina, creator of the Fitnessista blog and brand. I'm so excited that you're here today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm so excited for today's podcast episode with Jonathan Carp. He is a dermatologist, lifestyle medicine expert, and CEO of Miracle Noodle, which I am sure you've heard about. It's in 22,000 stores. So before we head into today's episode, I wanted to tell you guys about Loombox. So I've been using Loombox for a few months now. I absolutely love this thing. It's so well designed, it's portable, it's beautiful, it works extremely well. And here are some of the things that Loombox can do. So it's red light therapy, and it uses specific wavelengths of red and near infrared light to target our mitochondria, which are the powerhouse of our cells, to increase ATP, which is cellular energy, increase blood flow, and also reduce inflammation. So studies have shown that the Loombox can help with so many things. Just a heads up, it cannot treat any medical conditions, but some of the studies have shown that it can help with healthy skin, pain and inflammation, recovery and performance, and also benefits for hair, blood sugar regulation, rest and relaxation, and energy and mood. Some of the things that I think that it's helped me with particularly is a muscle soreness. So if I have sore muscles, I'll put it on the near infrared setting and just put it on whatever muscle is hurting me, and it makes such a huge difference. It also has helped with my skin. I love using this in the morning. I'll prop it up right by my desk, and I think that it's also an awesome mood boost. So that's been incredible. It's also been shown to help with inflammatory effects from things like rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, if you have neck pain, and then with skin, so many different things from acne, scars, wound healing. I used it on my scar I had on my chin from getting a mole removed on my chin, but I also feel like it's just such an awesome mood booster. So it has this portable little case that you can carry it around with you. It's a super low EMF, which is really important for red light devices. So if you're curious in any of the red light devices, make sure that they're low EMF. But I absolutely love this thing. And the craziest part about it is that they gave me a link, and you can use the code Fitnessista, so FITNESSISTA, and that's going to get you $260 off your Loombox. So I love this. The kids love it, and also Maisie comes up while I'm using it. And I haven't read any studies about using it for dogs, but I know a lot of people who have used red light therapy for their dogs. They recommend eye protection, but I just make sure it's never facing her eyes. But yeah, it's been such a cool part of my routine. So if you're interested in adding it into your wellness routine, definitely check it out. I have a link in the show notes. It's really powerful at-home red light therapy device that you can use anywhere, anytime. If you're looking to upgrade your wellness routine, head to the link in the show notes, enter the code Fitnessista, FITNESSISTA at Loombox, and get your $260 off. All right, friends, let's dive into today's episode with Jonathan Carp. So this was such a cool episode. I loved talking with him. If you're not familiar, Jonathan Carp is a dermatologist, lifestyle medicine expert, and CEO of Miracle Noodle, which is in 22,000 stores. Like I mentioned, he helps people take charge of their health through better nutrition and mental imagery. His approach blends science with real-world solutions, making wellness more accessible and sustainable. I absolutely loved this conversation. I hope you learned as much as I did. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Welcome to the Healthy in Real Life podcast, bite-sized tips for healthy living that you can implement right now. Join us weekly for interviews and real-life advice for creating the happiest and healthiest version of yourself. Here's your host, fitness expert, author, and mom of two, Gina Harney.
Hey, Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the show today. Here, would you mind just sharing some info about yourself and your background and what it is you do now?
Sure. My name is Jonathan Carp. I'm a medical doctor that specializes in dermatology and what I call lifestyle medicine. So treating people with, conditions via diet and lifestyle. And then I'm also the owner of a company called Miracle Noodle, which makes two classes of products. First is a product made from konjac, which is a very potent natural prebiotic fiber that's really low in carbs and low in calories. And then also an egg white noodle, line of egg white noodles, essentially, that are high in protein and low in carbs.
Okay, amazing. And you started off as a dermatologist, is that correct?
Yeah, I still see patients. My after medical school, my initial training was in dermatology. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So I'd kind of love to hear how you decided to found Miracle Noodle while you were working as a dermatologist. Like, what inspired that?
In 2004, I had a patient by the name of Karen who reversed her lupus with nutrition. It was one of the most amazing things I had ever seen. I had her on all kinds of really awful medications, organ transplant medicines, and such to try to get her lupus under control. And nothing was working. She disappeared after we stopped the medicines because they weren't doing anything. And she came back 2 months later, essentially, 95%, healed. And she brought with her a stack of books and articles and all kinds of things for me to review because it was really, I've seen a lot of those cases since then. But if it wasn't for Karen, I wouldn't have really ventured into that because it was such a powerful thing for me to see that, we don't see that much and we're not really taught about that in medical school. And so I jumped into helping people through dietary change and lifestyle. And shortly thereafter, a couple of years after that, I was on a trip to Japan and I saw this product. A friend of mine took me to a Buddhist vegetarian restaurant outside the city of Kyoto. And I was served these noodles and told about how they essentially had no carbs, no calories, were made from a beneficial fiber. And I thought about the patients who were transitioning to trying to eat healthier. And when I came back, I started the company mainly for people who were on special diets, but quickly realized that people were enjoying it as just a regular pasta alternative. And that's when I brought my family on board and we started Miracle Noodle.
That's amazing. I just think that it's so incredible to hear the power of nutrition and the healing capabilities that it has. And it's interesting that you brought up the lupus thing too, because a couple of years ago, I had all of the classic lupus symptoms and I had two positive lupus markers. So the ANA and the dsDNA were both positive. So my
Uh-huh.
doctor was like, "You likely have lupus. I'm going to send you to rheumatology." And I decided not to go because I knew they were just going to give me steroids and wait for it to get worse. And I didn't want that to happen. So I completely changed my life. And I've been 1 year symptom free, negative lupus markers. So, like, your diagnosis doesn't have to be your destiny.
No, that's very well said. Very well said.
Yes. So, you've been in the wellness industry for a long time. What are some of the things you think people get wrong when it comes to health and wellness?
In the general wellness space, you mean?
Yeah.
Or yeah, I
Yes.
think people self-isolate into very narrow ways of eating and sort of demonize other ways. And what I've found is there's not one particular diet that's gonna speaking of autoimmune disease, or not, there's lots of ways of going about that. And so when people self put themselves in a bubble, that's probably one of the things that bothers me the most, I would say.
Yeah. What are some of the things, a couple of quick changes that you would recommend to those who are listening and they're like, I really just want to improve my life and get healthier? What are some of your favorite starting points?
Diet wise, I of course all the basics, which is to get rid of processed foods. In terms of sleep is going to be incredibly important. Make sure you're moving, addressing any mental state issues like stress. Really, just starting with the basics. A lot of people define moderation in ways that are not moderate. They think they're doing things, they think they're being moderate, but when people start to understand what moderation truly is, it's really not what they're doing. And in a lot of cases, it takes what I always say, it takes a good 2 to 4 hours of education of direct one-on-one contact with someone to really for them to really understand a lot of the concepts of lifestyle change. And, I've been fortunate that it's become an interest of mine, and I've been able to create a space where I can spend that amount of time with people over the visits and such. But um, it's it takes a lot of back and forth conversation for people to really understand it. And one of the other things is that a lot of times people are not in supportive environments. I have so many examples. One that comes to mind that I've used as an example before is that I had a patient. She was probably around 28, 29, had eczema since she was a kid. She was willing to change her diet and lifestyle. She came back completely clear for the first time in her life. She lost, around 15 pounds. She was incredibly happy. But then I saw her a couple months later. She had regained the weight. She just asked for medications again, and it turned out that she had a young family. Her husband wasn't supportive. Her extended relatives weren't supportive. And that's the most obvious example of a environment that's not supportive, that's actively not supportive. But a lot of times people may not be fully conscious of some of the stress they're getting. It sort of flies under the radar, and they don't necessarily sometimes they don't acknowledge that the stress that's causing, and it's causing them not to be able to stick to the plan that they want to be on to improve their health.
That's a really interesting point. I think it's something that we don't talk about enough, but it can be hard to be like the odd one out in your family or your friend group trying to make these changes when everyone else doesn't really agree. And also, in some way, I feel like they're almost being attacked for their own choices, even if you don't say anything about it.
That's right.
Yeah, so it can make it so much harder.
Yeah, it's true that a lot of times even the most well-meaning people in your life can resent the fact that you're making positive changes in your life related to these things. And so it can that's on them, it's not on you, but it unfortunately causes a lot of problems in those situations.
That's so true. And like I said, I just don't think it's something that we think about enough, especially in husband and wife dynamics. I feel like that can be really hard if you have a goal like that and then your husband brings home a bag of French fries and they're like, here you
Right.
go. You're like, you're making this so much harder for me.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting, we did a bunch of surveys for our Miracle Noodle customers, and one of the really interesting things, which sort of relates to this, that came back is that a lot of people like the noodles, and they say they like them because they don't feel left out. Like, okay, maybe they're serving, their kids regular pasta, and maybe their husband regular pasta. Well, if they're on a special diet, or they're trying to eat healthier, they can make their own noodle pasta dish with our noodles, and so they don't feel left out. So we got that "I don't feel left out" phrasing in the surveys, and it just goes to show how deep of an emotion that actually is, that
Yep, it's
feeling
so
left
true.
out, like you just said.
Yes, it's so true because you want to be a part of it, especially when like meals are such a community or celebratory type thing. So you don't want to feel like you're cutting yourself off from everyone else. And the interesting thing about the noodles too, you mentioned that they're 0 calorie or super low
Yeah,
calorie,
yeah. Less than 5 calories.
zero-ish carbs.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
imagine they're also pretty nutrient dense as well, and they have fiber and probably other benefits as well. Is that correct?
They are they're not nutrient dense in the sense of like a green vegetable. They're
Okay.
nutrient dense in the sense of they're made from a really potent prebiotic fiber that's going to nourish the beneficial bacteria of your gut and provide satiety and help with lowering blood sugar and cholesterol and these sorts of things. So in that sense, it is.
Okay. So I imagine you've had many Miracle Noodle dishes. So what's your favorite way to prepare them? Or any
I like
favorite recipes?
Yeah, I mean, I put them in I'm a big soup guy. Like I like using my Instant Pot a lot. So I put them in soups, stir fries. There's some tomato. There's certain sauces that I like that I'll make as well. I like the rice also in soups. The egg white noodles that we have are really good in salad, like to make a sort of a higher protein salad with the vermicelli noodles. They're really, really thin. Um, I like, like Vietnamese wrap with the egg white vermicelli. It comes out really, really well, and also it has no carbs, but you get a lot of protein, so it's very versatile.
Okay, I haven't tried them, but I'm excited to now. I love the idea of making like a almost a ramen type soup with it. I
Yeah,
think that would be really good, or some type of like pad thai type situation. Little peanut sauce on there. Sounds delicious. Yeah.
yeah. We have a pad thai, like a pre-made
Okay.
pad thai. I'll have to send that to you.
Oh, okay, amazing. I'm excited to try it. So, I feel like mindset is such a huge component of health and wellness, and it's another thing that I don't think we pay enough attention to. Are there any mindset or visualization type strategies you use for yourself or that you recommend for clients?
Yeah, I teach a technique of mental imagery that I studied with a teacher in New York by the name of Gerald Epstein for many years. And it's an interesting technique in the sense that visualization is a guided visualization is a type of technique where you lead people through an image, but in this scenario, you're given a prompt and then you come up with the image yourself. So I use that quite a bit in my practice. I can give you a quick example. I had a patient that had a condition called neurodermatitis where she was sort of picking her skin due to stress and such. And of course, she was given creams and all kinds of things that weren't working. So I had her visualize using, closing her eyes, breathing out 3 times. And I asked her, what the image of calm looks like. What comes to mind when I say calm? What's the image that pops into your head?
Oh, for myself?
Yeah,
Like a beach.
a beach. Okay, yeah. And then if I said, if I if I asked you the image of anger, what image would come to mind?
A storm.
Okay. So everyone comes up with their own images. Of course, I do this. So I asked her, what is the image of your condition? And the image of her condition was barbed wire wrapped around her arms. That's what she saw. And so I asked her, what's the opposite of that image? And the opposite of that image for her was smooth glass tubes. So in this scenario, she 3 times a day would sit down, close her eyes, breathe out 3 times, and just visualize the smooth glass tubes because that was her own medicine mentally to counteract this particular condition, and that was enough to make her condition go away. That's just one like very, very, very abbreviated and simple example. But in that scenario, like for anger, let's say someone has uh, can you hear me? You can? Okay, because all of a sudden the sounds changed a little bit. Um, so if someone has, so what was the image you gave me of anger? It was a
A
storm, right?
storm.
Right, a
Yeah.
storm. So if I were to ask you, what's the opposite of a storm? What's the image of the opposite of a storm?
Just a clear, sunny, calm day.
Okay, exactly. So let's say someone has trouble with anger in their life. In that scenario, they would come up with the opposite image. In this case, in your case, not saying you have any anger issues, using it as an example, of course. Then they would just, they would see the storm transform into a clear day. And this is sort of you're reading your own internal symbols for a whole host of different things. And this can be extended out to physical conditions. People with all kinds of conditions can use something similar. And it has a lot of different applications. It's hard to go through it in detail, on a short podcast, but that hopefully gives a little bit of flavor of what the technique is like.
Yes, I love that. I think it's so powerful. I think our bodies are listening to us, and I really think that if you're dealing with a health struggle, something like that can be so calming and peaceful, but also really impactful too, because your cells are listening to you. So if you tell your
Mhm.
cells, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm gonna have a horrible day today, of course you're going to. Or I'm in pain, I'm gonna feel terrible today. And then the opposite, if you tell yourself, I'm going to have a great day, I'm going to have a great attitude, I'm going to smile at everyone I see today, I'm healthy, I'm vibrant, I have energy, your cells are going to listen to that as well.
Yeah, agree, 100%.
Yeah. So I think that's amazing. So if someone's interested in learning more, what resources would you recommend if they're like, I want to learn more about this visualization strategy?
Well, I have a book coming out. I just finished editing it on Sunday, so that was so now I'm just getting it formatted for print. So that'll be available on the Miracle Noodle website, hopefully in a month. But my teacher's name was Gerald Epstein, and he wrote several books. One book is called Healing Visualizations. It's been in print and been, had multiple editions for many, many years. So I recommend everyone have a copy of that book. And then another one of his books is called Healing into Immortality, which leads people through using it as a healing modality, not just for the body, but for spirit as well. So so those are good resources.
Okay, I'm excited to check those out. I'm excited for your book too. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Thank you.
Yes. So Miracle Noodle is an enormous brand. It's distributed everywhere. Are there any challenges that you encountered along the way? I would imagine that it wasn't a super easy road to get to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, we've been at it a very long time. The challenges, we started online, and then transitioning into retail was learning a whole new business, and learning how the business, just learning how the business is run, learning how to get in, how to do trade shows and talk to the buyers and doing presentations and all that sort of stuff was probably the hardest part of the journey.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you guys have any new products coming out or anything you can share about something that's up and coming?
We have I can't share the ingredients, but we have another noodle coming out that it's a gluten-free pasta from from a very sustainable ingredient um, that w- I can't really share exactly what the ingredient is, but I think it'll be a really good addition to the gluten-free pasta set because it's very nutrient dense, and will also be high in protein, and has a very pasta-like feel. So we're really, really excited about that.
Okay, amazing. When does that launch?
Probably the first part of next year.
Okay, so pretty soon. So
Yeah,
keep your
yeah.
eyes out, guys, if you're listening. That's really exciting. So, what's your favorite go-to meal when you're short on time and you just want to make something quick and healthy?
Yeah, my Instant Pot, I take crushed tomatoes, a can, I keep in my freezer mirepoix, like frozen mirepoix, the chopped, carrots, onions, celery. I put in two of those, and then a can of beans, spices, and I just put the Instant Pot on, and that's my quick go-to. It's just simple. It's like really nourishing. Um, I could eat that almost every day.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. That's probably my favorite meal as well. It's just so easy and warming and
Yeah.
nourishing, and you can customize it just based off what you have. But I love my Instant Pot. I use it every single day. So if you guys don't have an Instant Pot, I was scared of it at first because pressure cooking seems a little intimidating, but once you try it, it's so easy to use. But I do the exact same thing. I just throw a ton of vegetables in there, mirepoix. I'll do a can or two of beans.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I'll add a sweet potato.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll add some chicken. And
Uh-huh.
then I'll do a bunch of herbs. So I'll put whatever I have, like rosemary, thyme, ginger, just random stuff, and cook it up. And then I eat it with an avocado, half an avocado, and some lemon on top. And it's delicious.
Yeah. And it always comes out delicious. Like I've never had a time where it hasn't come out good. And it's just so easy. But I've been trying to convince my sister to make that meal, but she also there's some there is like a little bit of a hurdle you have to get over for the pressure cooking. But people should understand though that it is really important, to pressure cook your beans. They do become a hell of a lot more digestible, and definitely for people with autoimmune disease, if you're going to have beans, you want to have them pressure cooked. Um, so yeah, so that's and sometimes I'll also take I have a rice cooker, and I've been using the rice cooker more to make meals. Like some beans like mung beans don't necessarily they cook really rapidly. So, a couple tablespoons of mung beans, like some buckwheat, some dried mushrooms, spices, and water, like in the rice cooker, and it also just comes out. I'd make that for lunch all the time, and it's just like my mouth is watering just thinking about it.
Yeah, so delicious and easy and
Easy.
nutrient dense. Yes, but don't be scared of the Instant Pot. I was so scared of it for so long, and I was worried it was going to explode or something like that. But it does not work unless the lid is latched on. So it will not
Yeah,
even turn on unless it's locked. So no worries there.
yeah.
Yes. So the title of the podcast is Healthy in Real Life. What's something that you do in your own routine to create a consistent, sustainable, healthy lifestyle for yourself?
Routines are probably the most important thing you can do. Probably a morning routine that sets your circadian rhythm is probably going to be is the most important for me. I pay attention to the lighting in my apartment, in the evening, and I'm very deliberate about the type of bulbs and light that I expose myself to in my apartment. Um, and realizing that getting outside and hopefully getting some exercise in early in the morning in the natural light really sets you up for a good night's sleep later that day. So routines, just trying to get as many routines, because once you have routines, and once you are really spending time creating these routines, and then you just do them for a couple weeks, they really become routine. Like there's no effort involved. They become as easy as brushing your teeth. You just have to put in the number of days until they become effortless. No one complains about brushing their teeth, but you will complain in the beginning of any routine. You just have to give it time. And if you just don't say, oh, I'm going to do it forever. Just say I'm going to do it for 30 days. Just set that as a goal. Don't even think about a year from now. Just think about the next month, and effortlessly it will become effortless. So that's my biggest thing.
Yes, I totally agree. I think routines are so important. And like you said, it makes it so much easier to stick with it for the long haul because it's just part of your life, just something that you do every day. And you mentioned the impact of light. And I think that's something that we're going to start to hear a lot more about, just how light can hinder or help your health goals. What types of lights do you use in your house? Do you use like the incandescent bulbs instead of LED, or what do you usually do?
Yeah, I have a bulb that has three settings. It sort of has a white and then an amber and a red in most of my lamps. I do have LEDs in my apartment, but I don't use them in the evening. Incandescents by nature are definitely better than just old-fashioned incandescents, and even halogens are better than LEDs. LEDs just are problematic, unfortunately. They're cheaper and they're energy efficient, but in addition to just it's like telling your body it's high noon, like all day long, and even at nighttime. And so, in addition to the fact that they emit enough blue light that they actually cause skin aging as well. So there are definite risks to LEDs, and I believe with time, as the data comes out about how disruptive these are to your circadian rhythm, which increases all kinds of issues from autoimmunity to cancer rates. I mean, night shift work, the World Health Organization says it's a probable carcinogen. And that's not because people are up at night, it's because they're working in environments that of light that are really terrible um, for setting any sort of rhythm. And every single cell in your body is has a clock in it. Just like even your skin has to cycle through rest and active cycles. So it's really important that people be are aware of that. Um, and you're right. As the data is there, like all the mechanisms and the importance of circadian rhythms. I have a chapter of this in my book. This is relatively new. The Nobel Prize for identifying a lot of these pathways doesn't go back past, I think it was 2017 or 2019. So it's relatively new, and it does take quite a bit of time for this to sort of filter down into the rules and regulations and such. So ultimately, it's our responsibility, to become more aware of these things and implement some of those things for ourselves and our families.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. That's cool that you have the light that switches between the amber and the red. When we first moved to our neighborhood, there's a house in our neighborhood that has all red lights at night. And I didn't know what it was because we first moved in 13 years ago, so it wasn't a popular thing. I'm like, something creepy is going on in that house.
That's
But
funny.
turns out they're just very health minded, and I
Yeah,
think we should do the same.
yeah. Some of the bulbs that you can like program through different colors, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not getting blue light, So you have to get sort of the ones that are specially designed, like circadian friendly type of lighting. But even Fortune 500 companies are hiring lighting engineers now because they see the data is strong enough that you're gonna see changes in the workplace soon. So it's a good thing that's gonna happen.
Yes, I agree. It takes a while for that trickle down effect to happen, but it'll be much better in the long run. So you mentioned fitness outside to help with the circadian rhythm. Is there a fitness routine that you follow or something that you like to do every day?
Well, I'm in Miami, so I'm thankfully, or not, it's very not, I'm sort of blessed to be not too far from the beach. I work out in the gym, but I take a good 30-minute walk out in the sun in the morning. Um, So it's not that I'm necessarily working out outside, but I always ideally, everyone should be getting 1 hour of outdoor light per day. That's sort of what the data shows. In order, because even when you're inside, your retinas need a lot of bright light, and even if it's cloudy outside, it's still so many more times brighter than even what it seems, even if you're in a very bright indoor environment, and you get the full spectrum of light, and your retinas really need to see that, and you really need around an hour of that per day. So that will improve your sleep tremendously if you can get that hour in. But yeah, for me, it's the walk outside first thing in the morning.
Yeah, my favorite way to start the day. I just think it sets it off on such a positive note. And it's good for your blood sugar regulation too, just to walk first thing in the morning, get some steps, get some sun on your skin and in your eyes. And it's almost like a movie meditation. It's really great for your mindset for the day. Yes. So if someone's interested in learning more about you or purchasing Miracle Noodle and learning more about your company, where should they go?
MiracleNoodle.com will have all the information. The newsletter will be valuable on our website. That will be where I'll be, we have a health newsletter, and then of course the book will be released that we'll be offering at cost for people. And yeah, I mean, we're transitioning the company Miracle Living because we're going to be implementing a lot of different health education initiatives for people that'll go along with the book. But our products are available all over the country and in Whole Foods, Sprouts, Walmart, if you go to our store locator, there is definitely a store very close to you that has some of our products for sure.
It's amazing. So I'll include all of those links in the show notes so you guys can find Miracle Noodle, try them for yourself, connect with Jonathan. So excited for your book as well. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing these amazing tips with all of us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Healthy in Real Life podcast. For more info, check out Gina's blog at fitnessista.com.